6 quarterbacks to break down in 5 minutes right now on Fantasy Football Today in 5. Adam Azer and Jamie Eisenberg. We're talking about the 2021 rookie quarterback class. Okay, we're going to do it the way they were drafted, IRL in the NFL draft. Jamie, Trevor Lawrence, go.
Very hopeful that this offseason will be good for him, that they improve the offensive line and the receiving core in Jacksonville in some capacity with at least one high-level player at each position, line and receiving core, and that we can see the best of Trevor Lawrence because the offensive line was a disaster, the receiving core was a disaster, and as a result, he was a disaster. So still a lot to love about his fantasy potential, but unless they really help him significantly this offseason, it's going to be hard to draft him as a starter and might be even hard to draft him as a high-end reserve.
Zach Wilson.
Kind of the same situation. We'd like to see what this Jets offense looks like when everybody's healthy with the offensive line, as well as, getting Elijah Moore, Corey Davis, Michael Carter on the field at the same time. So still a long way to go to see what Zach Wilson can become, but you see the potential. I mean, you certainly see the arm talent. You see what he can do getting out of the pocket. I don't know if he'll ever be a top-tier rusher. Probably same thing with Trevor Lawrence, although Lawrence's numbers in college kind of suggest he can run a little bit. But Zach Wilson, I think, probably has the most room to go to be a good fantasy quarterback. I just hope he gets there because certainly the investment from the Jets as the number 2 overall pick had a lot of fantasy managers excited, and we just need to see a lot more going into year 2.
Trey Lance.
Probably the highest ceiling of all these guys. You just look at what he has at his disposal. Obviously, great play caller in Kyle Shanahan, great offense around him. When you talk about Deebo Samuel, George Kittle, Brandon Ayuk, strong run game, strong offensive line, good defense, going to put him in a lot of great spots. We know that he has the rushing ability and a huge potential to be maybe a starting fantasy quarterback as early as year 2. So he's going to be the guy that I draft first of these guys if I'm looking at it. Justin Fields is a close second, but clearly Trey Lance has the highest ceiling of all these guys if things click for him, and hopefully it clicks in 2022.
All right, Justin Fields.
Right behind him, a guy that's in a great situation as well. I think if you just look at can the Bears add to their receiving core? We like Darnell Mooney. We like Cole Kmet. Obviously, David Montgomery, maybe Tariq Cohen. Those are some good weapons to start with. And I think an offensive line that's going to continue to improve after what we saw in the 2021 campaign. They invested a lot in that spot. And certainly we saw some of the growth there. But Justin Fields has got to stay healthy. He's got to, I think, run a little bit more to help fantasy managers. But I think the Bears have to help him by giving him at least something of an upgrade of what they thought maybe Allen Robinson would be, or, something better going into year 2 for him. But for me, Lance and Fields are 1 and 1A. I have them ranked 12th and 13th. Lance ahead. If you go back to our rankings dispute, those are the 2 guys I had ahead of Russell Wilson right now. That can change, but I'm very excited about those 2 quarterbacks as potential starting fantasy quarterbacks in 2022.
Mac Jones.
Yeah, probably the guy that I like the least of this group as a fantasy quarterback. Clearly was the best in terms of success as a rookie, not necessarily his fantasy production game by game, but overall. Based on what he showed you. But, I think he's got a lot to prove still to fantasy managers to be more than just a game manager. He was really good for the Patriots, didn't make mistakes, controlled the ball, doesn't have a lot at his disposal either in terms of receiving core. And we'll see what the Patriots do there. And, maybe the change from Josh McDaniel can, change some things for Mac Jones as a quarterback. And, you go over the evolution of how Tom Brady was, where he was a game manager to a superstar. I don't think it didn't happen overnight, obviously. And I don't think it's going to happen overnight for Mac Jones, if it ever happens at all. But just in terms of how I'm looking at this group, in terms of where I would draft them, Mac Jones would be the last of the fantasy quarterbacks I would gravitate toward of this class.
Davis Mills?
Davis Mills is somebody I'm excited about. I think we saw, just in a pretty crappy situation, he was able to, make some plays. And again, hopefully you see what's ahead for him. We'll see what the Deshaun Watson trade, if it does happen, brings back for the Texans, because they could be there could be a quarterback replacement, coming back if it's a guy like Tua Tagovailoa or Jalen Hurts, if the Texans want to go that route. But this was a guy that had some potential coming out of Stanford, and I think he's exceeded that potential, based on overcoming some injuries in college. They need to add some weapons clearly to this Texans receiving core. I don't think Brandon Cooks, Nico Collins, Brevin Jordan are exactly the best of the best. Obviously, Cooks is a good talent by himself, but Collins and Jordan still, I think, have a way to go, and maybe they help a guy like Davis Mills improve. We'll see the run game hopefully improve as well. But, in terms of there's a clear top 3. I think when you look at Lance, Fields, and Lawrence, and, that's the way I would rank them. And then once you get to 4, 5, and 6, it's kind of a toss-up. I like Davis Mills, I think, as the 4th guy there. Zach Wilson can certainly get better than him easily with depending on what happens to the Jets offseason. But it's 4, 5, and then Mac Jones will be 6. But I do think Davis Mills has got a lot more potential than I think people expected. And I think he showed a lot more than I think a lot of people were looking at with this Texans offense once he took over for Tyrod Taylor.
I worked really hard on today's podcast, so I'm going to call it.
I just want to make it clear. I think you're wearing the same thing for 3 shows in a row. I'm definitely wearing the same thing for 3 shows in a row. So for people who watched our Tuesday show, our Wednesday show, and now FFT and 5, we did not change our clothes.
Correct. It's all been within the span of 5 hours, but sure. Yes.
Well, he shaved. He changed. I mean,
and he's going out to play pickleball. He's gonna have to obviously shower again. I'm maximum 1 shower a day, so I don't know what that was all about. But all right, we'll talk to you later this week on Fantasy Football Today in 5. Just have to hit a button.